Without further ado, the one, the only, Mr. Bruce Marvel, everybody.
All right, thank you, Jason. Again, thank you to Captain Bluehead putting on this event, Hollow Reads. Yeah! Thank you to Midnight Oil Brewery for having this event. Again, if you weren't here for the first part, I am Bruce Marvel, the host of the Marvel of Horror podcast, where we talk all things past, present, and future as they pertain to the horror genre. And again, we're not trying to be IMDb. We're not trying to just prove how much we know about horror movies. This is just regular people coming together, talking about the stuff that we love, doing the things that we love. Right now, I'd like to bring up, he is a comic book creator, a tattoo artist. He is the one and only Buz.
Buz Hasson.
Buz Hasson. Ring the bell, man.
Where's it on my finger?
Put this on your finger.
Buz wants to ring the dead bell. I say go for it. Hey! Thank you. You got to say thank you to the spirits when you do the dead bell.
Thank you, spirits.
No, we're going to talk horror comics, man. We're going to nerd out with Hellboy. Totally going to need you here.
I'll be back. I promise.
All right. Buz,
Yes, sir.
once again, man.
Hey,
Always
man.
a pleasure talking to you.
Love the Marvel of horror.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. Dude, what was your first experience? What was your baptism into the horror genre?
It was probably Michael Jackson's Thriller. Yeah, in the 80s. And then,
I had to do that.
Obviously, the Vincent Price part and the Rick Baker makeup.
Rick Baker, man.
That hooked me. You know what I mean?
Well, I remember being a kid and so the Thriller video, like even to this day, I mean, we're talking what, 30 years? That thing's 30 years, right?
85,
Something like
84.
that. That makeup is still just top notch. Like you can't beat that makeup.
Rick's
I mean,
the
even
best,
today, it just stands the test of
I
time.
didn't even know it was him at the time. I just knew I liked it. You know, the quality, the way the ghouls were moving and stuff.
Well, like I said, I mean, I think every kid loved Michael Jackson before, and in the '80s they did. We're not going to go down why they don't now. Yeah, but I remember being a kid, and like that video never scared me. I always just thought that video was awesome, and I just wanted to see more. Like,
Directed by John Landis.
yeah, right.
Yeah. American Werewolf in London.
American Werewolf in London.
Twilight Zone.
Twilight. Well,
Is that him?
I think that was him. Did he?
He got banned from that one.
He got yeah. There was some real fatalities. Many of you may or may not know. There was some real fatalities during the shooting of the Twilight Zone, the movie back in the '80s. And I've seen that footage. It's pretty hard to watch.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
would say after Thriller, it was probably like Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Okay, so Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is one of those movies where I gotta watch it at least once a year.
Yeah.
It's up there with.
wacky at that point.
It's up there. Look, it's up there with John Carpenter's The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, Die Hard of Christmas. I got to see it once a year.
Yeah. 3 and 4, man. 3 and 4 are great.
Four gets kind of like really out there. I mean, it's a good watch. It's funny, but
That's my favorite part about that series is just how crazy it is.
the Freddy Krueger shark on the beach, I think is like that's
coming
yeah.
up, And then explodes.
Yeah, and he puts on like the glasses. It's
You
for
can't make it up.
You can't. It's good stuff, man. And you can't. So Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, I think is at the that's the invisible ninja Freddy, right? Where he does the
Yeah.
kung fu.
Is it Dream Warrior or Dream Child? Dream Warrior's 3.
Ooh, Dream Warriors is 3. I think Dream Master is
Master
4.
is 4, and Dream
Dream
Child
Child was
5.
oh, it was real bad too. It was real bad.
Getting bad at that point.
Yeah, it got pretty bad. And you being a guy with special effects and makeup background, like legit.
Yeah.
Freddy's Dead. I think they just kind of gave up on the makeup.
They gave up on that.
Freddy's Dead's still a great movie, though.
New Nightmare is good though. The way like Wes came back into it and did the whole like Scream 2 thing.
Yeah, I like what. Well, you know what? I feel like with that franchise at that point, it was the only way. It was the
Yeah.
only place you could really go with it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how they're going to recreate. We talked about this before. Like, I don't. Good luck to anybody who's going to try and remake Nightmare on Elm Street again. Good luck. And actually make it a franchise too. You got your work cut out
It's
for
tough.
it.
Yeah, I mean, you get how many movies to watch one actor play the same character, you know, and you bring someone else in to do it. So it's a little hard to sell at that point.
It is, but it's like, how do you what do you bring to that story that this guy over here already didn't bring? I mean,
probably not much.
not much. Yeah,
Rehashing it, yeah.
just you know.
What let's see to say. What else I was into? Planet of the Apes too, like the makeup in that. You know, I thought Planet of the Apes was I know it's a sci-fi movie, but I thought it kind of had a scary kind of vibe. You know, like kind of the last man on Earth. These things.
I actually, there's a lot of people out there. I'm kind of on the fence, but a lot of people I think would actually consider the original Planet of the Apes a straight up horror movie.
Yeah.
I think they would. I think for the time, definitely.
Yeah. It probably was more sci-fi, but it had a horrific feeling, kind of feeling isolated, trapped in another society. It's definitely scary.
Well, you said The Last Man on Earth. I totally get that vibe from that movie. We won't talk about the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie. Boo! Don't. If you were thinking about seeing the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes, don't. It's terrible. And I love Tim Burton. So, give us some background about your comics. Like, you know, I mean, you've worked on everything from Pumpkinhead to My Bloody Valentine as far as like horror comics. Like,
I always loved horror movies, and I always loved comic books. And it was like I felt like there was a bridge between them somewhere. I was trying to help make Bill. You know, it was like I was trying to just do both. And so for me, I made my own comic book that had that. You know, it was about a zombie and self-aware. I was trying to riff off of George Romero's stuff with Bub from Day of the Dead. And I always felt like George was trying to make the zombies like smart again. So they were like colonize and get together.
Yeah.
And you saw him do it in like Land of the Dead. And,
yeah, you're right. I think that overall progression of his movies is really where he was going, which I thought was like
just took him a long time to get there.
Yeah, well, I think probably had to be a lot from like funding and all kinds of stuff.
It takes time to tell that story. When me and Ken did Living Corpse, we just sort of fast tracked it right to that point, just starting with that point. And it was all inspired by George. I mean, Living Corpse's human name is John Romero, so it's all a nod to him at this point. But yeah, making Living Corpse led to making horror comics, which then, after doing that for 15 years, got us noticed for other stuff like My Bloody Valentine, Hatchet, Night of the Living Dead, all those other comics that I worked on.
It's so cool, man. Like I love the pumpkin, like all these movies I'm like huge fans of. I got friends who are like I got a buddy right now in the audience, man, he loves Hatchet. And like you actually got to really do like Hatchet comics that are awesome, they look great.
Everything is approved by Adam Green. He's involved directly. And I know early on, he only wanted us to do Crowley in the swamp, fighting off tourists.
Oh, well,
and then after you do 2 years of that, it's like, hey man, can we have him go up against like a swamp witch or like a Bigfoot? And we would pitch him all these ideas, and he's like, nah, not that. And then recently, we did one called Hatchet Midnight Murders. And it's like Crowley killing vampires that are in the swamp. It's a whole like crime syndicate of vampires that are coming in.
Well,
and they're taking out everybody, and he just starts taking them in.
Well, like I said, you were kind of talking like all these franchises. Like we'll take Hatchet for example. It's like okay, you got to take the story somewhere else. Like I give the Friday the 13th franchise all the credit in the world, even though it wasn't the greatest movie. Like Jason Takes Manhattan and Jason in Space.
The sewer scenes are awesome.
Yeah, well. I mean, the infamous kill of him, like, knocking my man's head off on the building is, like, just burned in the brains of everybody, yeah.
I read somewhere he was supposed to kick a dog, and he was like, Jason doesn't hurt animals. So he kicked the boombox instead.
Well, I think it's funny. I think
like, totally hilarious.
Well, I think even then and even now, like, you're okay if you're killing people.
But don't kill a dog.
Don't be hurting animals, man. You know what I mean?
Hey,
like
Jason's got to have some morals.
Yeah. Well, they can reinstitute that, like Jason versus John Wick.
Yeah.
He kicked and killed the dog, and now
Jason and John Wick.
Jason versus John. Well,
Jason Wick.
Jason. I think like John Wick is like some unstoppable killer by the time 4 comes around.
Wick.
So Jason Wick.
All dogs go to heaven.
Yeah. I used to love that movie as a kid. But see, the spirit who keeps popping off the dead bell dug it, yeah. But so, what are you currently working on?
I am I just did another cover for My Bloody Valentine, which is actually published under the title of Valentine's Bluff. Massacre.
Okay.
So there's a Nosferatu book coming out this year that me and Neil both worked on.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. That's fucking cool.
Knowing that
Excuse my French.
Yeah, knowing that Nosferatu was coming out in December, and I know Neil's a huge fan of it, and I'm a huge fan of the original. I pitched to American Mythology, yo man, this is a public domain. Like, you should do a Nosferatu comic book to come out at the same time as the movie.
The fact that Neil Vokes, who is like a walking Dracula omnibus, has to be told to do a Nosferatu story is like.
Well, no, I don't.
I'm totally gonna like give him crap when I see him again.
Well, you telling Mike that it was Buz's idea.
Oh, I totally will.
Yeah, and
I
that's
totally
how
will.
he got to do a cover for it.
Well, I think he was
I
upset.
wanted to do it.
I think he got to get with Jason. Jason can back me up on this. I think Neil was upset he didn't get invited to this event. Jason.
Oh, yeah. Neil would come out.
Oh wait, we're bringing him up here. He's got to defend himself.
Hot mic. Neil Vokes is a friend of the store. He is part of the DNA of Captain Blue Hen Comics. And
He
Neil
is.
always welcome to all our events. So actually, now that you say that, Neil Vokes, the man, the myth, the legend, will be at Captain Blue Hen Comics on November 9th. There you go. Any fans of Godzilla out there? Any Godzilla fans?
Yeah!
Godzilla Day is technically November 3rd. But we're going to push it back a week to November 9th.
Nice.
So he'll be there celebrating all kinds of kaiju stuff on November 9th.
Are you going to have anyone in a Godzilla costume, like in One Crazy Summer?
You got to remember, Godzilla's birthday is a Kai-Jewish holiday.
It's a kaiju holiday.
Jewish holiday.
Hi,
Okay.
Jewish holiday.
Jewish holiday.
Doo-doo.
Yeah. So banks are closed, I think, and all financial institutions or something. I don't know.
I will totally be there.
So, yes, there will be people, I'm sure, in costume. We have two young lads that like to dress up. One lost a bet once and had to come in a Mothra costume.
Nice.
I have to see this.
So, yes.
Your two twins show up and sing before he walks in.
I'll make them. They are twin boys.
Oh yeah. Oh, are they really?
They come, I'll make them sing.
Because there's always the twins that sing, and then Mothra comes out.
If only I had time to get my Smog Monster
That'd be
costume
awesome.
ready.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I just ain't got enough time, but I'll definitely be there.
I don't know what the song is, but they be doing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, I need to go back and eat some stuff, and then I'll be back up here.
Okay. Well, thank you for presenting us with that information. Yes, Godzilla Day next month. Everybody should be there.
Sounds awesome. Neil's great. Great artist.
And speaking of Nosferatu, I know exactly where I'm going to be like Christmas Day. So I have my son, who I love very much. He's going to be 2 right around that time.
Yeah.
Going to do my gifts,
Looks good.
Santa's gifts, and then I'm going to be like, okay, bye, and I'm going to see it.
Yeah, can't miss that.
I can't. No.
You don't want the spoilers.
Are you kidding?
Gotta
Okay,
go see it
Santa
there.
came by. I'm out of here. That's his movie.
So yeah, it's an anthology. Nosferatu Comics is an anthology, and it's one of the stories is written by this guy named Geo Parsons, who is the creator of Willy's Wonderland.
Okay, I've heard that name and I've heard of that.
Yeah, Willy's Wonderland is a new horror movie. It's like animatronics. It's kind of like Five Nights at Freddy, but it's not.
Okay.
It stars Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah. Okay. I actually, so a lot of people tell me that movie, because I haven't seen either one, but a lot of people, look at this guy in his horror podcast. He hasn't even seen these movies. It's weak.
It's all right. Can't catch up with everything.
Right? No, I actually hear a lot of people tell me the Nicolas Cage movie is better than Five Nights at
I
Freddy's.
think it is too.
You think
yeah.
so?
He doesn't actually speak in the whole movie.
That might be a good thing, though.
I'll tell you what, it works.
Yeah, he spoke in Long Legs. Did you see
I
that?
didn't see Long Legs.
Okay, he spoke in that. And it was pretty wild.
He doesn't
Pretty
speak at
wild.
all Willy's Wonderland, but Willy's Wonderland is pretty wild. But I worked on that comic book too. Willy's Wonderland comic book.
That is awesome. Is there and we've talked about this before. I mean, you've touched on you've done a lot of horror comics with a lot of famous like horror movies and horror entities. What's the dream job? What's the dream character you haven't been able to work on yet?
Probably. I mean, I always love Night of the Creeps. That's my favorite one.
Yes. Where is my friend Sarah? Oh, come on. My friend Sarah is here.
I'm a big Night of the Creeps fan.
That is her movie.
I have the movie poster signed by everybody almost everybody in the movie.
I met my man at the Tom, and I got the Thrill Me signed Tom.
His lines in that movie, man. Every time he walks in.
Dude, come on, that classic line. Hey girls, your dates are here.
Yeah.
What's the bad news? They're dead.
Yeah.
It's
Good news and
classic.
bad news, ladies.
Yeah, dude, he
The
rules.
good news is your dates are here. The bad news is
They're dead. Thrill Me, dude.
I can watch it over and over again.
He's the nicest guy though, man. Like
He really
you meet
is.
him,
It's
he'll
like
talk
80s.
to you like forever.
It's in his 80s, too.
Yeah, and you know what? He'll sit there and talk to you. He'll make time. He'll pose for pictures. He'll tell you stories. Like
He's a great guy.
if you can meet that guy, totally meet that guy, because he's like I said, genuine sweetheart. That guy.
Yeah, I love Night of the Creeps and Halloween 3.
Night of the Creeps, right there. There's Sarah. That's her movie. You got a shout out, but you're outside.
Sarah, tell us your favorite quote from Night of the Creeps.
Thrill me.
Yeah, come on, of course. That's it. That's the money.
Detective Cameron? No. Blue Uncle J Moose.
I think the only movie you can't like that guy is Creepshow.
Creep show, yeah. He slaps the kid.
Yeah, that's
He was
Stephen
saying
King's
that,
son.
he was saying that when he had that scene, Stephen King came over to him and said, listen, man, don't really hit him. He was like, I'm not going to hit him. You know, he's like, but he was like, Stephen was like worried he really was.
Yeah,
Because that's Joe Hill.
that's Joe Hill, who actually I've read a couple novels by Joe Hill, and they're actually very terrifying. Very good
He's a
stuff.
great writer, man.
Yeah, he is
I love
good.
Joe Hill.
So Joe Hill, Lock and Key, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
horror,
go.
And
suspense type stuff.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, and you have Lock and Key for sale over here, don't you?
Maybe
See that
not.
segue?
If we don't have it over there, you can always check out CaptainBlueHandComics.com or call us and we'll make sure that you get it.
He wrote
In Newark, Delaware.
Nosferatu.
Yes, and he did the Nosferatu.
Watch
Nosferatu.
that show. It was really good.
Yeah, with was that Zachary Quinto, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The aging process on that was neat. Like, it was like victims and stuff.
Well, I saw the first couple episodes of the first season, and like it followed, from what I remember, it followed pretty clear to the book. I mean, the book was great, and I think they reference like the True Knot or the other way around from like Doctor Sleep. Like they kind of linked those books together, which I thought was like pretty cool.
Yeah, he said all his stuff is like in that multiverse sort of thing. And there's like I've seen a map, drawing of a map that has like Derry and where everything is.
Probably. I mean, we could go all into how Stephen King was doing like his connected universe way before
His
like really
multiverse.
anybody else. Yeah, and he was doing it better.
Well, the Universal Monsters. You know.
Well, the Universal Monsters, yeah, they were doing their cinematic connected universe way before anybody had the idea.
What was the first movie to do it? Was it the Abbott and Costello?
So no, actually, if you watch it, you have Frankenstein, you have Bride of Frankenstein, you have Son of Frankenstein, and then you have Ghost of Frankenstein. Well, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman is actually the sequel to Ghost of Frankenstein, and then they all tie in together. So then you get House of Frankenstein, the House of Dracula. That's where they get everybody.
Was it the Hammer ones?
No, they're Universal, but the Hammer ones really didn't do any tie-ins as far as like their Dracula and Frankenstein. Shame on them.
Did the Frankenstein movie start running out of gas at some point? Like,
Never.
Neighbor of Frankenstein.
You will never hear me say those
Clerk
words, sir.
of Frankenstein.
Other people might think that, but I won't.
Swim coach of Frankenstein.
There is.
Nephew.
I do have to say, as much as I love Bela Lugosi, he's the worst Frankenstein I've ever seen. He is Frankenstein in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, and he's the worst. It is what it is.
There, he said it.
I said it.
Inflammatory.
I stand by this.
Take that.
Yeah, stick to the Dracula cape, sir. But now that we kind of were getting into the horror comics,
Yeah.
let's talk about my favorite horror comic outside the Nocturnals, Hellboy.
Yes.
The first Hellboy comic I ever read was The Conqueror Worm. This was in 2001 at Comic Mania, not Captain Blue Hen, sorry.
That's all right.
I know, shame on me.
Listen,
but
all boats rise, right?
but
All
I'll
boats rise
never
and die.
forget it. I'm walking by this shelf, and I see this issue of what appears to be a demon-looking guy fighting a giant gorilla with like a Nazi head living in a jar. And I was like, I have to buy this. I have to read this. What the hell is going on? What was your guys' first Hellboy comic?
Seed of Destruction, really the first series right off
OG.
of First Day Comics.
Yeah. Oh man.
Born in 91.
91. That's a
I
good
knew right
year.
away as soon as I saw it. I'm like, Monster Hero, thank you.
Yeah, some demon, some devil with a stone hand beating up monsters. Yes, please.
My favorite thing about Hellboy is that it was never like an idea for a comic. It was a concept sketch that Magnolia drew for like a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And then he had loved the drawing later. And they went back to the Comic-Con promoters. Was like, "Do you mind if I like use that again for something else?" And they were like, "Yeah, no problem." And then that's how we got like Hellboy out of it.
Yeah, and it was crazy. If you've ever seen,
I can't. No, I've never seen that, but I'm just imagining like Parsippany like had a Comic-Con, and they had like this iconic character. Now they don't, like because it's Hellboy now, but
Yeah.
it was the Red Man Con before something, and now it's really popular.
well, it's funny. If you've ever seen like his initial sketch of the Hellboy guy, like it was like some big, huge demon with wings. It looks nothing like the Hellboy we have now.
Yeah, he trimmed them out a little bit, but it's funny how something super cool and iconic that's kind of here to stay, you'll always see Hellboy stuff, happened on like an accident, like just kind of like something,
Like I said, getting into Hellboy, it was completely by accident. But I've never looked back. I mean, those Hellboy, like I think my favorite overall Hellboy series is Wake the Devil. That's my go-to Hellboy. But I mean, like his art doesn't work. Mike Mignola, artist and creator. His artwork doesn't really work for me when he does like Batman and stuff like that. But like Hellboy, it's just perfect. It just fits. Like it was meant to be.
Like weirdly enough, that's how I came into him was Cosmic Odyssey for DC, and then there was also a Marvel like one-shot like square-bound book that he did, Wolverine and Savage Land, and Apocalypse is on the cover too, or
Do you
something
remember
like
the Rocket Raccoon miniseries he drew?
that. I don't. No, so that one I don't remember.
That one's from '85, and it's like a 5-issue miniseries. It's like Rocket's first
Oh.
solo series.
But
It's written by Bill Mantlo.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I do remember that, but I don't remember his art doesn't like pop out to me from that.
Yeah.
It's that art that like drew me when I saw a BPRD book.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got drawn in through like kind of the superhero side of it, which like the first two movies, the first movie and then the David Harbour movie, I think kind of lean into the superhero-y kind of explosions side.
Yeah.
But Hellboy is one of those things where when people come into the shop and their kid wants something kind of edgy, but like you don't want like a lot of cursing or you know what I mean. It's one of those things that like is cool for like a teen to read or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's perennial. Like it's.
I call it like just like dark heroism. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like Batman's a dark hero.
Yes.
But if you're burnt
Yeah.
out on Batman,
Absolutely.
like Hellboy's a dark hero.
Yep.
And that's the kind of like Swamp Thing's a dark hero.
No, absolutely. Like I think the Hellboy comics is crazy. Like they borderline like really old school like ghost stories. Like I love how Mike Mignola really does his research as far as like bringing like old myth and old folklore with some of these monsters he tackles into like his story, which I always thought was like super cool. Like he actually does. If Hellboy's in Ireland and he fights some like weird fairy or whatever, it's like that fairy is usually based off some sort of lore from Ireland or from wherever.
I mean, Noya himself, is a big fan of that of mythology and lore, and he found a way to like bring that into comic book universes through Hellboy and keep it all grounded in folklore, because essentially science fiction is just folklore passed down through generations.
Yeah, so there's an interesting book I got a long time ago that anybody who's like real into like the supernatural and like folklore part of it's like Passport to the Supernatural, I think it is.
Okay.
That's like his go-to book for like getting some of those monsters and like stuff that like adventures Hellboy like goes on, which I think is
That's what I
super
always
cool.
liked about it. I mean, that's what drew me to it. Was I was getting like comic book art from a guy that had done superheroes before, but I was getting the monsters as well. Again, being a horror fan.
Yeah.
And you're getting it all inside of the setting that is spooky. You know what I mean? But still, like, the humanity in him is still there. You know what I mean? Like, he knows he's a monster. It's the same thing with Frankenstein. Like, he knows isn't like what he is, but it's existing. Corpse is the same way. Living Corpse is the same thing. It's all coming from. I mean, I'm a huge Hellboy fan.
Oh, like I said, I was from that Conqueror Worm series, I was just drawn in. I mean, I love Hellboy. I've been reading Hellboy for so many years, and I feel like even in 2000, it was like, you know, I'm going to comic book shops. I'm going to like comic book stores. It's like, what's Hellboy? Like a lot of people like, it was like in Hellboy before like in Hellboy was cool.
The Hellboy hipster.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything I liked 5 years ago.
I call you Hellboy posers.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you have the Goon because of Hellboy.
You have the Goon because of Hellboy, absolutely.
So, and along those lines, you can also find this over here. One of my favorite books that is a lot like that. It's called Hillbilly by
Hillbilly's
Eric Powell.
I have purchased Hillbilly
Oh my God.
today. You made a lot of money off me today,
Dude,
sir.
this whole event was just to get you to spend more money.
Wow.
Um,
You check and me.
But listen, just like Hellboy, Eric Powell came up with two crusading kind of characters. The Goon, who is, let's say, like Depression era,
Depression era
muscle. Yeah.
The knockaround guys, is what they call
Knock
them.
on- Hey!
Then you also have the other guy that is Hillbilly. He's Rondell, the Wandering Hillbilly, and he has a giant cleaver that kills witches and a saber-toothed
blind.
bear. He's blind. Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's the whole shtick.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
blind.
when I saw the Hillbilly comic over there, I immediately thought of like Rob Zombie, and I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm buying this. I'm sold.
Yeah, it looks like Rob Zombie.
It looks like a Rob Zombie movie.
It takes place in Appalachia, which is like the scariest thing for me. Like even like, if that book happened now in Appalachia, that would still scare
Oh
the
yeah,
crap out
that's still some scary. There's still some scary hills up there, man.
I thought Sid was waving to me. I said, it's part of a live podcast. Get used to it.
Ew.
Get used to it.
So, real quick, because I know here at the Marvel of Horror, we're always getting off topic. I'm always kind of going off the beaten path. We don't stick inside the lines here. The Crooked Man, which is a Hellboy comic you can purchase
Ooh.
at this table
Ethan
from
or
Captain
Joe,
Blue.
can one of you guys hold up a copy of The Crooked Man? Or
The
Sarah?
Crooked Man.
Sarah can.
Sarah can.
Ladies and
Sarah,
gentlemen,
thank you
direct your
much.
attention to Sarah over at the Captain Blue Hand booth.
The Crooked Man.
Hellboy, The Crooked Man.
So
on TV screens now.
yeah, so on video on demand, I believe.
Yes.
Hellboy, The Crooked Man. Now,
Came out.
there's a brand new movie, right?
Oh yeah, brand new movie.
Brand new movie came out about, what, last week?
Third installment of a Hellboy film, right? Or no,
Fourth, right?
Fourth installment. Yeah. So Mike just keeps running with it. But I actually, when I first saw, is it Jack? Kelsey?
Jack
Kelsey.
Kesey, yeah.
Casey.
Casey.
I wasn't that impressed with like the makeup because I'm a huge Perlman Del Toro fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I actually watched it and it's my favorite one right now.
Yeah.
So same thing. Actually, this movie was getting a lot of it was getting a lot of flack online, and I kind of knew it would because those Del Toro, Ron Perlman movies were so much to live up to. Like I love those two movies. Hellboy 2, The Golden Army is probably like one of my all-time favorite. Like if you want to call it a superhero movie, it's probably like up there in my top 5. But honestly, Hellboy, The Crooked Man, the film. His body type actually, to me, looks the more representative of Mignola's like art.
The way they shot the movie with so much in shadow,
Yeah.
like the scenes are dark and the shadows are striking,
Yes.
like a silent movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
It captured him more. You know,
Yeah.
it captured him like the drawings. So
Heavy spoilers alert to anyone who's going to see Hellboy, The Crooked Man, which I recommend you all see. I'll try not to give too much away.
Thumbs down from somebody in the
Thumbs
audience.
down. Oh, boo.
Don't listen to the guy in the back. We're
Don't
tapping
listen to that
the ball.
guy.
Another conversation.
No, you're right though. I mean, seeing this movie and seeing the shadows, like it's purposely meant not to be flashy, which works because that's the style of Mignola's art. It's almost panel like obviously they made some changes, but this movie is like panel for panel, The Crooked Man.
I was wondering if I didn't like compare it. I was wondering how it was, but it definitely plays like a horror movie.
Yes.
Oh, big time,
And less like a superhero movie.
Yes.
big time.
And it plays a lot like the Evil Dead stuff, but in the Hellboy universe.
Yeah, I
And the makeup
see.
effects, everything's very, very good.
I see a lot of homage to Sam Raimi and the original Evil Dead films in this film. I'm glad you brought that up. I could totally see that. Definitely, it's make no mistake, it's a horror movie. It is a horror. It's not a superhero movie. It's a horror movie. It's got witches.
I love
It's
how
really
they
good.
didn't do a recap too. Like they didn't do a big recap on who he is and all that stuff.
Yeah, that is one thing too. Not every superhero movie needs the origin bit, and yeah, they just hit the ground running. Like the only real difference is I see from this movie versus the actual comic book is the opening. The opening, and they added like his partner from BPRD. Like in the comic, it's more of like a solo mission. They kind of added this, but they came up with a very entertaining and action way of like putting him in that part of the country at the time versus like in the comic he's just kind of like Hellboy's almost like a wanderer after he quits the BPRD and he just kind of finds himself there.
Well, I think part of the cool thing about that is they're giving you a time and a place. So 1959 in the hills of Appalachia in the mountains, right? They give you an Asian female agent and Hellboy. And the Asian female agent is more out of place to these people than Hellboy is.
Yeah, like I said, this is what 1959, right?
It's a throwaway line where she goes I thought you'd be, I thought you'd be more shocked to see him, and she's like, nah, we've seen you on the cover of Life magazine. So
Yeah.
so Hellboy's been. Oh, I don't know. Like,
Was he on the cover of Life?
They made like a jab at him. Like I guess he was on something, but the fact that they've seen Hellboy and not like this
more
this,
somebody than a minority, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this
yeah.
is like 1959 coal miner town
Yeah.
in the Appalachian Mountains. So
They weren't even phased by it.
they weren't even phased. Yeah, like I said, she was more out of place, which I thought was a very interesting take, and I thought was like I said, this movie had a lot of depth with these characters too.
I like how much he didn't speak too. Like when he spoke, he delivered a line. It was very Hellboy line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just him swinging at the bugs.
Yeah.
That's why he's smoking his head.
He said, "I am the heebie-jeebies."
Yeah, that was my favorite.
That was a good line.
That was my favorite line.
That's a line from the book.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was my favorite line. They're in this train with this mutant spider that they're tracking. It's cargo they're taking somewhere, and he's like, "Man, that thing don't give you the heebie-jeebies." I am the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh.
So,
That's why Hellboy rules.
so all right. So I agree with you. I think that Jack Kesey is like easily second place, maybe tied for first with Perlman, and I had a
Which
place
is
in my
saying a
heart
lot.
for Ron Perlman as Hellboy.
Yeah.
Like I think he is Hellboy.
I didn't think he was replaceable at all.
No, but
And,
now
I watched the David Harbour one. I love David Harbour, obviously, for Stranger Things, Avengers, and stuff. But he was still great. But the new guy nailed it.
Yeah.
The new guy nailed it.
The new guy is definitely tied with. Like I said, I always have a place in my heart because I was that guy who was reading Hellboy for a couple years. Never in a million years where I thought I'd get a Hellboy movie, let alone a whole bunch, and they would be good because they're all good.
I like how, even though this is the fourth installment of the film, you're probably going to get a fifth. I like
I hope so.
I like how they're still kind of sticking to the character. They're still sticking to the character, what it's about, the book. Like they're not getting like that kind of stuff. By the fourth one, they start getting away from what it all is.
Well, I think that's the cool thing about a character like Hellboy. Like when you get to the Marvel comic stuff, even the DC stuff, like everybody's kind of chained to this. We got to tell this overall arc that's got to take place over so many years. We got to find a way to fit this story we want to tell within this arc. Hellboy's not like that. Hellboy's meant to be more of like anthology style. Here's a one shot, one story you kind of throw in there.
Monster of the week.
Yeah, there you go, Monster of the Week, and it works. Like I think everybody's a little bit tired of the whole.
I don't know the beginning or the middle of the end.
Yeah,
Where does
oh
this pick up
man.
on? Does it all connect together?
Where's the fourth Captain America movie going to tie into Secret? Like, it's like it's kind of what turned me off with buying like comics when they would have these big like, the big crossover event. You got to buy every issue of the comic to get the full story, and half the time the one issue of She-Hulk had nothing to do with what's going on. You just got $4 off of me.
Yeah, it's probably why there's hesitation around picking up a comic. It's like, because people are like, where am I jumping in at? I don't know where I'm jumping in at. What do I have to know before I read it? And it almost seems like too much work.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it can be. Like, well, you know what? And that's the great thing about Hellboy and horror comics in general. Horror comics in general, they're more like anthology style. Like, I don't need to see I can buy this issue of Creepshow over here, and I don't need the overall arc. It's just some cool comic book with awesome art and scary. That's just what I want.
Yeah, you're not reading something that has 100 issues prior to you picking it up. It's like, I have no idea where I'm getting into.
Well, I like too the Crooked Man. It didn't set up for a sequel. You can just kind of drop in, watch it, get scared. Hellboy's this awesome character, and move on. And hopefully we will get another one because I was very entertained.
I feel like the Crooked Man and the universe that he's in the Appalachian Mountain woods and stuff, Hellboy becomes a backdrop.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
He's a supporting character of what world he's in. And that's why that movie is leading, because you can't just put him in the center and be like posturing him all around. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, he's cool and fun to watch, but like, dude, where are they?
Well,
where does he keep ending up? You know?
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, like you said, Tom Farrell is the main character of the story.
Yeah,
Tom
really,
Farrell, the guy. So spoilers in case you're going to see it. Tom Farrell is the character that we meet in the first act who left home because of dabbling in witchcraft. It scared him. And he comes back home because he needs to put an end to this stuff, and see his family again. That's where his life is. Bye, folks. So Tom Farrell is the main character. Hellboy is part of the backdrop. He's one of the supporting characters, but he is not the main character of this.
No.
And I'm okay if they want to keep making movies like this. I was originally very apprehensive of this movie. I thought we were going to get like Sci-Fi Channel like effects and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's 2 or 3 spots where there's like spotty special effects, but they're
A
not,
little bit, yeah.
But they're not totally distracting, right? Like,
You don't want to see Sharktopus versus Hellboy.
Yeah. Well,
Sharknado versus Hellboy.
well, here's the thing too. Like, I'm glad you brought that up because
Thank
you brought up the David Harbour film, and I don't get me wrong. I like the David Harbour Hellboy. But to me, that CGI is like already dated. Like, if you turn that movie on, like, that movie was made, what was that, 2021 maybe?
2018, 2019, something
2018,
like that.
2019?
I think so, yeah.
The one with Mila
The-
Jovovich.
Yeah. Who, for some reason, is like the Paul Rudd of females. Like, she just doesn't seem to age at all. So, but like the effects look almost the same, if not, like those effects were so dated so quick.
They rushed that one.
They did, they really did.
What so we talked about Mike Mignola's art in the book, and like sloped shoulders, like Hellboy always has those sloped shoulders.
Yeah.
So what we did talk about, Ecto 1 is just turned on its lights outside and siren, so
Oh man.
it's good picture time out there.
Cue the music.
Yeah. What we're not talking about though is Richard Corbin is the artist on this.
Yes.
On this,
Yes,
on
he
this
is. Yeah. Mignola only did the covers, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the interior of the book and the visuals in the movie were very Mike Mignola, but they were also still very Richard Corbin as well.
Yeah. When we got to the scene where we got to the church with the blind priest,
Oh,
was
yeah.
definitely Corbin.
Bye,
Bye,
Martin.
buddy. Thank you for coming.
Martin, check the podcast later. Oh my God, that's me. I'm Tinny. I'm sorry. I'm
It's
keep leaning
okay.
back near the.
We're sorry.
I'm going
Everyone.
to sit on the floor in a minute.
Don't do that.
Oh God, everybody's looking at me. What do I say now? Am I saying this out loud?
I wonder if they'll realize I have no inner monologue.
But yeah, like I could do a Hellboy movie like this every couple of years. I don't need big budget, like you said, like him swatting the bugs away while he's trying to smoke. Hilarious, like that's so the character.
Hellboy hanging out in the coffee shop, just being sarcastic is funny. Yeah.
Well, you talked about Godzilla, like Godzilla -1, the Godzilla Day and coming November. But Godzilla -1 basically proved to Hollywood that you don't need a big budget to make some epic, awesome film. And I'm glad we're actually seeing movies that aren't relying on the budget to give us what we want. Like, I want to see more movies where I think that can, like me and Buzz talked about this before, if you slap a big budget on, especially a horror movie, I think it actually worsens the film.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, like, where do we want to get into werewolf effects and how American Werewolf in London still probably the best effects and it wasn't any CGI?
Dog Soldiers. You've seen Dog Soldiers?
I have seen Dog Soldiers. It's not one of my favorites, but the werewolves did look cool.
That's what I mean, man. Like the werewolves
Hold
are
on,
cool.
there's a movie called Dog Soldier.
There's a movie called Dog
Hold
Soldiers.
on, where does it take place?
In Ireland, I think, or Scotland.
All right,
Yeah,
okay.
my man who plays Alfred in Gotham is like the main guy.
I just watched something on dogs, in Michigan, like dog soldiers in Michigan.
Okay.
Sorry. All right,
These are
dogs
werewolves.
that are soldiers?
what's that?
Actual dogs, or just the term?
No, like the term, like dog man. Like
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't.
Google it. It's a crypto.
Yeah, I'll Google it later.
Yeah, cryptid.
It's just another werewolf movie that I like.
It's like I said, and the werewolves do look cool, but again, low budget.
Yeah.
Like you don't need all this money.
That one
To tell this awesome
Late Night
story.
with the Devil.
Oh man, great
Another low
movie.
budget, like great movie. You know what I mean?
Great movie. Well, I'm wondering how much like this. We got this Wolfman movie coming out. I wonder how that's going to be.
The trailer, I mean, it looks intense. I'm not entirely sold on it, but I mean, I will absolutely check it out.
Yeah. I'm going to see like a werewolf movie, but
Well, so let me ask you this: do you think having a lower budget, like horror movies tend to have like either like ridiculous budgets or like low budgets? So do you think that having the low budget forces them to do more intriguing things, camera-wise, shot-wise?
Yeah,
I do.
And that's what makes the draw for like.
I do. I think you can tell when you go back and look at some of like the greatest horror movies of all time, and if you go back and look at some of the highest grossing horror movies of all time, they didn't have some huge budget, and they can do a lot. They can. It's like sleight of hand, you know. We'll take Psycho for example. If you go back and you watch Psycho, really go back and watch that movie. You never see the knife enter that woman's body.
No.
Never.
feel like it does.
But you feel like it does. He was able to tell that
Good
with
shot.
exactly. He was able to cut that and shoot that to make you believe what he wanted you to believe.
Closes you in, makes it claustrophobic.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's so many. The original Cape Fear is way scarier than the De Niro Cape Fear because what's implied is so much more worse than what you see.
Yeah.
Less is more with horror.
Less is exactly. Less is more. That's one of my favorite sayings.
If you watch any of the black and white films of the 30s, the sets are painted, the shadows are painted in.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all constructed by hand, no computers, and it's just it works. It puts you in the scene.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
Wolfman, he's walking across that foresty graveyard thing. It's like it could be an LA studio. I don't know.
Yeah.
It looks like he's in, the deep forest of London somewhere.
The opening scene in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman is one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen, where the guys are literally getting ready to rob Lon Chaney's character Talbot's grave. I mean, it's like it's your classic like graveyard with the wind blowing just right. It's so creepy and it's so good. Like I said, it probably was a set.
Yeah. They created the original movie making techniques. You know what I mean? Like those silent films, those horror films. I mean, they're the original movies, big movies. So everybody's kind of using those same techniques.
Well, so not to get off topic here a little bit.
We've already done that.
Yeah, I know. It's the Marvel. It's no.
It's the Marvel of horror. We do that all the
It's
time.
his fault.
It is my fault. I'll take full credit.
The what is it? Werewolf by Night. Did you guys watch that last year? Or
Yeah.
wait,
Okay,
was it
Werewolf
last
by
year?
Night, the Marvel film, awesome
All right.
film.
So there was two versions of that came out, like the original, like black and white version with the very last scene being in color, and then there was the all color version that came out, like the regular version. So I'm. It's probably because I saw it first that way, but I'm privy to the black and white. Like I love that version of it. Like the shadow and everything is just so much more intense and like.
Yeah, and like I said, it like to me, and this is I'm biased because, like I said, the Universal films are my films. But when I see the black and white version, it takes me back to those films, like automatic.
You have to. You're also. You're pulled into the world of it. Like if it looks like 4K, full color, and looks like your neighborhood down the street, you're kind of bored already.
Yeah.
When I watch a commercial. So when you're watching something so stylized, like you have to commit. You can't willy-nilly watch something so stylized in black and white. Well, where are we again? Like, if you're on your phone, you're not paying attention. Once you start watching it, like you're in.
Yeah.
So I think like the style on it, if you're not drawn to it for that, you might not like the movie.
No, and I think the color takes away from those scenes with Man Thing are like super intense. I think the color takes away from that.
So what was weird is that those color scenes that like when you go back and watch it in color, everything is everything's saturated, but there's also like a filter on it that is like kind of antique a little bit, like so it still has like almost like a Hammer Movies vibe like to it, like the color version of it. You get a chance to go back and watch it tonight. I'll watch it 2 or 3 times during the holiday season. Is what I was gonna say. During the Halloween season.
Oh yeah, and like I said, with so many, that's a good movie to put on for Halloween. Totally.
think we had it on the store before it came over.
And they even put in, there's even the little effect where they put that little squiggle in the corner, like the means that
right.
film where you have to change the reels.
Don't know if you can hear that, but Joe was saying that they even added in
Burn mark?
like the burn marks and the squiggles in the corners and that kind of stuff.
You know what that is?
In the industry, we call those cigarette burns.
Because when they were cutting the tape and smoking the cigarette, the editors were in the editing room for so long, James smoking cigarettes.
It was just
Instead of gluing them together,
Yeah.
they would just stamp it with the cigarette so that it like sealed them together.
Come on, man. Tyler Durden told us in Fight Club.
thank you,
He
Tyler.
went over the whole thing.
What's the first rule of Fight Club?
We don't talk
cigarette
about.
burns.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the second rule? No,
Second
we'll
rule
get
of
into
Fight Club,
that.
don't talk about editing film.
Yeah.
I was 5 minutes late to Fight Club once, so I missed the very beginning. But Fight Club was a lot of fun at Fight Club.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what Fight Club was until I walked into the movie theater to see it.
Same here.
And I must have been like 22 years old or 23. I
Same
had no
here,
clue,
yeah.
man. And when I saw it, I was like, whoa, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Talk about movies that
Sign
blow
me
your
up.
mind the first time you've seen them.
We have about 5 minutes before we need to wrap up. Just FYI.
Okay. Well, let's,
I was
let's-
looking for the light in the back of the room for somebody to like flash on me or something. But
So Buzz, why don't you tell us what you're holding in your hand, sir?
I'm holding a free sketch on a sketch card from Captain Blue Hat Comics, and it's of Hellboy. If anybody can tell us who the creator of Hellboy is and wants to win it.
All right,
How do you
yeah.
wanna
So
give it away?
I'll tell you what. If anybody is interested, this free sketch from Buzz of Hellboy. If you can go to Buzz, and we'll say what was the first official storyline? Okay. What storyline is the original Ron Perlman movie based off of? If you can answer that question, this is yours.
All right, sounds good.
Did I make that too hard?
it also wouldn't hurt if you showed us your subscription to the Marvel of Horror podcast.
Yeah, or you can just walk up to Buzz and say, "You're my favorite," and the
want
Marvel
that sketch.
the Marvel of Horror podcast is the greatest podcast in the world, and then we'll just give you this.
Fair enough.
Can you tell us what storyline the first Hellboy movie was based loosely off of? Here's a hint. Buzz mentioned it earlier in the show.
You can also poll the podcaster
Yeah.
as soon as it's over with.
We're not going to tell you to Google it, but
Why did you just tell me the name?
tell me the name of the movie.
It's Hellboy. You got it.
Well, like I said, we're right. Buzz, how long you going to be here doing sketches? Are you wrapping up at 7 too?
Yeah, we're wrapping up when you guys wrap up. So
Okay.
2 more minutes.
Well, so I would say, listen up, guys. Midnight Oil is open for a while.
Don't answer yet.
Not yet. Not during the podcast. You work with us. Go away.
Be gone.
TJ, what time is Midnight Oil open to tonight? 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. It's very loose.
Yeah.
Somebody else do the announcement.
Depends. Yeah. If there's a lot of people buying beer, we're gonna stay open till 11.
So we'll be wrapping up in the back section here. So if you do want to come back and make any purchases, you can do so here. Once again, we have T-shirts for sale. Buzz has got a bunch of stuff for sale. It looks like our Delaware Ghostbusters are still here for a while, so go out and see them. Get your holiday pictures done early for Christmas in front of Ecto Line. And keep buying beer. Absolutely. Anything else?
No, like I said, I just want to thank Midnight Oil Brewing for having us here. This was great. I want to thank Captain Bluehan for putting on this event. Holla Reeds. Stop by the table, buy something, stop at their shop.
We do have freebies. So if you did not get one of these Grimm Fairy Tale bags, it's from our friends at Zenoscope. They gave us a bunch of free stuff to give out tonight.
Free merch.
So there's free comic books in there. I would say definitely read it before you hand it to the kids because it's not really kid material. It's horror stuff. But we got that up over there. And there's events flyer up here. And then because I'm really tinny and this is going to go off again, there is a $50 raffle that we're going to do on October 31st, sponsored by Scott Farnan Realty. Fill that out, put it in the box, and like I said, if you're the winner, we'll give you a call and let you know you want a $50 gift certificate to Captain Bluehan.
Yeah. And like I said, I want to thank Buzz again.
Hey,
Buzz,
thanks, guys.
always
Buzz
awesome
Hasson,
talking to
everyone.
you. And like I said, so I am Bruce Marvel, your host, your friend, fellow horror enthusiast. And like I said, find us on YouTube at the Marvel of Horror Podcast. We're on Spotify too. Like, subscribe, leave your comments. We want to hear from you. Maybe you want to be on the show. We do Zoom meetings. That would be great. I'll be around for a little while. I'd love to talk and meet people, but I thank you all for coming to this, your attention. Keep drinking, have a great time, and, have a great Halloween coming up. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.